Hey everybody, what's up? It's Colin583 here again. Today we're doing another fan video. This one happens to be a particularly special one because of that brand right there. That's right. Finally got an SMC fan here. A real SMC fan. I have a couple that are similar, but they're not quite the same. Now, this isn't exactly the one I'm looking for, but that's a story I'm going to dive into in a minute. In this video, what I want to do is I want to completely tear this thing apart, and practically restore it. I'm not, it's not like an antique fan where I'm taking the thing apart, painting it, and rewiring it, but I want to take this thing apart, clean it up really nicely, and clean it up, service the motor, like bend the stand back the right way and stuff. So let's dive right in. So before we start, I need to get a couple quick things out of the way. One, I apologize for the background noise. I'm in my basement and I have this file server here that I built that's very loud. There's a future video coming on that. Two, I also need to apologize for the atrocious mess that is my basement right now. I've been very busy and I haven't put any time into cleaning this up recently, so there's a bunch of crap on the bench and there's a bunch of crap on the floor and it's just a mess, so I apologize for that. But let's get into a little bit of a backstory here. So when I was younger, I'm talking younger as in like second grade, my grandpa had an SMC stand fan that was my great-grandma's at some point, but either way I always liked the fan. We actually welded the base back together because it broke, but eventually that fell apart too. So my grandpa and I built this huge wooden base out of like 2x6 or something. It was ridiculous, but it worked. I always liked the fan quite a bit, and then I saw tower fans for the first time, and I thought they were the coolest thing. But in order to get the tower fan, I had to get rid of a fan. This was the deal with my mom I made, because I really wanted the tower fan. I don't know why, but anyways, so I had to get rid of that fan because it was big, bulky, ugly, the usual. So yeah, unfortunately that one went to the curb. I've kind of been kicking myself ever since, and I've been looking ever since for an SMC fan. Now I believe those were the one I got rid of was one of the older like 1998 Pedestal fans with the blue blades. So I'm still keeping an eye out for one. I have a white Westinghouse fan from 2001 that's very similar to those. But again, that one's got issues and it's not quite the same. I'll get a video of that at some point. I've even just been looking for an SMC version, fan. I had one, another quick story. I had another one like this in like 6th grade that my uncle gave to me with a blown thermal fuse before I knew how to fix that. So I took it all apart and kind of made a Franken-fan out of that with another motor I had from another fan, and that was cool for a while. But that was a Polonus. That thing had issues too. But either way, it's cool to find an SMC fan that also resembles both of those childhood fans. But yeah, that's the backstory. So let's dive into this thing. I apologize for the kind of shaky camera. I just don't have very much time to video this, and I don't know where the tripod is right now. It's probably in the garage somewhere, but either way, I think you guys can deal with it. So, this is the exact way I found it in the garbage. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. This was a trash find. I found it on my way home from school. It was leaning over in a box kind of like that. I saw the blades first, and I thought, oh, that's just a modern crappy fan. But then I saw this motor housing, which is kind of distinctive, and I just had a feeling. I'm like, that's an SMC, and then sure enough I looked at it and yep, it was, so it was mine very quickly. So yeah, this is basically the exact way I found it. The grill is like falling off. That nut is just very loose. It's missing the bands that would have gone around, the white band with the screw at the bottom. I'm not going to be able to find one of those, so zip ties will have to work for now. That's got some weird like markings on it. I might be able to clean that with the magic sponge. It's kind of teetering over a little bit too. I'm sure that's, oh yeah. There's a little bit of wobble in that base. I think that's a little loose. So that's going to need to be tightened and straightened because that's on a bit of an angle. It's nothing big. It's actually got all 4 feet, which is surprising. They usually don't. This has to get snapped back together. I don't even think I showed the information on this fan. Also, this back grill's upside down because the handle's here. It should be like there. This is a 2006 model. It's May and May. It's actually the month of my birthday. That's kind of cool. Let's see. It is Shell Electric Manufacturing. 120 volts, 0.6 amps. Actually, that tag says 05. But yeah, UL listed. So yeah, it's got the screw sticking out the back here. I actually have a yellowed SMC knob from something. I was thinking about putting that on there, but it's kind of yellowed, so I'm not going to. Let's go ahead and plug her up and see if she runs. I haven't plugged it in yet, so I really don't know. That'll do. That's on. Here we go. I'm going to point this away from the camera. Here's high. Works perfectly. Go figure. Moves a decent amount of air too. It's about what I remember. From my Franken-fan at least. It's blowing the tent away there. I got back from a camping trip recently, so they're up to dry. Well, actually they are dry, I just didn't take them down. There's medium. There's low. It's teetering. Does oscillate, as I just showed. Nicely, too. But yeah, let's do a quick spin down from beforehand. Here we go. Ah, it's got a decent spin down to it. I'm gonna oil it anyways. I'm gonna call that about 25 seconds of spin down. That's pretty good considering how light that blade is. So, let's dive right into this thing. Found my tripod. So the first thing I want to do on this fan actually is tighten up this base, because as you can probably tell, it's a little loose. And it's annoying me. So I'm just going to go ahead. This is pretty common with most stand fans. Not only SMCs. But I notice a lot with SMCs too that I see like in my school and stuff. There we go. This piece is actually slightly bent. So you can go ahead and bend that back. Oh, it's still loose. That's because I didn't tighten it all the way. That's a little better. This floor also isn't very even. So there you go. That looks a little better. Let's move up to the top of the fan now. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and dive into this thing now. Just start by taking off this grill. Just barely held on here in the first place. I held it almost twist ties. Which is interesting. Usually you see zip ties, not like the twist ties from a loaf of bread or something. There you go. That's really not too dirty. There's a little bit of dust, but nothing too crazy. Here's our blade. By this time they were pretty flexible, as you can see. Got the typical SMC knob on it. I would definitely say by this time they were starting to cheapen up. Nothing, they weren't terrible fans, but they were definitely cheaper than their blue bladed They're blue bladed versions. This is a little dirty, it's got some hair and stuff, but considering what I've seen, it's really not bad. This nut was already loose. Well, there we go. This grill's a little dirty, as you can see. Alright, so we're down to our motor housing now. These have a little bit of a weird motor housing design. First of all, they have a screw that holds the oscillator knob on, which is honestly a kind of nice design. It makes it easy to get off. What's not easy to get off, though, is this housing. It has these clips, which you pry forward, and then you gotta pop these clips back, also like that. It's just weird. You gotta go one at a time, and it's, you know, if this were brittle plastic, that could be quite a problem. Luckily, it's not. So there's our motor housing, which is in pretty nice shape, honestly. It's just a little dirty and dusty. Nothing that the magic sponge can't fix. And as you can see, for the time and the size of that blade, it's a pretty beefy motor. It's pretty nice. Considering that it's a light, small plastic blade, I mean, that's pretty good. Something I kind of liked about SMC, they always seem to put a decent sized motor in. Except for some of their table fans I heard were a little underpowered, but I've never owned one. Here's another issue with this fan. Actually, if I flip it around, you might be able to tell. This is our tilt knob here. That's tight, but you can see there's a lot of play to that. Which is not really a good thing. And the whole knob is actually moving, so there's something a little screwy there. No pun intended. Alright. Go ahead and pull this face off here. Try not to lose these screws, but they're going to fall out anyways. Onto the floor, of course. It would also help if you guys could see what I'm doing. Like I said, this basement's a wreck, and it's very hard to video in. There's not a lot of space to put things like tripods. But that's off. Alright. I'm still amazed at how free this motor is. We're going to go ahead and service it anyways, so let me go ahead and reposition the camera. Okay, so I've gone ahead and removed the oscillator arm and the little pin that sits in that hole so we can start to crack this thing apart here. Here's the infamous SMC wire clip. We'll take that off. I don't believe that these particular versions were the recall. I think that those were the blue bladed 1998 pedestals. I'm still not a huge fan of this design though. The wires going at the top, I don't really like that. Makes me nervous. But I mean, other than that, the motor seems pretty good. It seems like more than powerful for what it needs to be, what it needs to drive. So far these bolts are cracking loose pretty easily. No, I do not recommend using a pair of cutters to hold bolts, but I'm a little short on time. Alright, so that's apart. The motor's coming apart too. There we go. Something interesting. This motor has like a thing on the back where all the contacts are soldered to. I've only seen that on one other fan. It was a more modern version, but I think it was also made by Medea, which I think is kind of copied some of SMC's designs. I could be wrong, but they look very similar. Here's our rotor. It's really not terrible. Might not even bother, I might just wipe it down. Alright, Got my oil. These wicks don't look super dry either. It's kind of cool. Sorry about that. It's getting a phone call. There we go. Should be plenty. Seeing as though this really isn't that bad. Alright, so now we can go ahead and throw the motor back together. And I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, so I've gone ahead and thrown the motor back together and put it on its stand here. It's spinning nice and freely, so that's good. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do, just because I'm short on time, and I do a lot of videos where I show every single step, so I'm going to change it up a little bit. I think I'm just going to kind of do progress updates on this thing. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is clean up the grills and stuff, and I'll throw that back together. Wow, that certainly looks a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up like the switch box and everything, and I'll be back in a second. Holy crap, that looks one hell of a lot better to me. I kind of went crazy with this one, not going to lie, but it looks almost brand new, aside from missing this ring. And the ring was annoying to begin with, but still, it kind of adds to it a little bit. I don't know. I took that ring on and off quite a few times. The grill just doesn't quite line up without it. I am holding the grill on with some zip ties, actually, just for now. Oh, and the only other issue with this is that the neck is slightly screwed up. The actual plastic is bent in a way where there's a little metal clip that grips it, where the screw thread's into, and that could move in the plastic where it's not supposed to. It's not that big of a deal. If it was, I could always just super glue it. But for now, I'm going to leave it alone, because it's relatively straight. Have the stand at full height right now. So yeah, I went crazy with this one. Really cleaned it up. SMC badge right there. Blades are, everything on here looks pretty much brand new. I'm very happy. Blades are nice and shiny. No more dust and dirt except for in there. I didn't clean in there, but that's alright. Motor housing looks good. No real scuffs. This is all nice. No broken. This hasn't broken, which is also very nice. I've seen quite a few with them of those with the broken. It's got a slight wobble to it, but I think that's also due to the fact that, one, the stand is a very thin material, and you can see it flexing slightly, but also this floor is not very level. Speaking of the stand, I completely cleaned it up. I don't know if you remember from before, but these were all scuffed up, and I took all the scuffs out. So once again, that looks brand new. So, got her plugged in here, so what do you say we go give her a test? Alright, let's fire her up. I have to put the camera so far away, because this thing is so tall. I'm going to put it on oscillation, and here's high. Goes medium. It's got a very fast oscillation to it, actually. I'm surprised. Here goes low. For an 18-inch pedestal fan, especially one this new, that low is pretty quiet. And it moves a pretty decent amount of breeze too, amount of air. It's got a nice nice breeze to it. Here we go. Gonna pin that, let's go to high. And let's do a spin down test. That blade is really light. I should add that in here. I know you guys have no idea, but that blade is a very light blade, so the fact that it's spinning down for this long is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. I'm going to do a quick check, see if it has a startup sound. Here we go, starting up on high. There's a very, very faint startup sound. I'm sure if this blade was heavier it would be much more pronounced. So let's go to low. Here we go on low. Again, very, very faint, but it is there. So overall, guys, I am very happy with this. I'm very happy in the first place to finally own an SMC branded fan. Been waiting a long time. Probably close to 7 years now. Now I just gotta find one of the blue bladed versions. I think the one I'm really looking for is like around late 90s to early 2000s 18-inch blue bladed pedestal fan, but with this kind of smooth badge without the ridges and the band around the grill. That's the one I'm really looking for. Like I said, I was very young when I had it, so I'm just trying to pull off any memories that I have or what my grandparents have. But yeah, very, very happy with this. It runs great. I'm very happy. So, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. So, thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe if you like what you see. Oh, and if any of you guys have a solution for this, leave one in the comments.